So Allison, it's a hard story to hear, and you know, the day that Sean was diagnosed with Fanconi anemia, your life changed too. Tell us about that.
So as Sean said, we had been waiting for a diagnosis for quite a long time, and at one point they had said, you're just a weird guy with weird counts, just go live your life. And so part of that, just going to live our life, was that we had started the process of paperwork for adopting 2 more children from the Congo. Maya is from Haiti. And so that day, sitting there hearing that there was a name for this thing, at that moment, I had no idea about bone marrow transplants and all of those things. All I knew was it was big and it was bad, and that my first thought was like, no adoption agency is gonna let us proceed. And so I knew life was gonna change, but like that was sort of the first immediate thought, was like, okay, that door has been closed and all of life will be different now because of this thing.
So how do you move forward with this every day? How do you deal with the uncertainty that this brings?
Again, that's a good question. We sort of, every day, we just sort of take it day by day. And I think that we don't take anything for granted. My favorite photo album is like a Maya and Daddy full album, because we know that like every moment that the 2 of them and the 3 of us are together is a precious moment. And we're always sort of holding our breath. We never take a trip without trip insurance. We never know. Everybody knows if we make plans, he might not be feeling well. And so you just sort of take it moment by moment, and sort of live in the now.
So Sean said you're his rock. Being a rock is fantastic. Being a rock every day is exhausting. What do you have to tell us about that?
So a mission of mine is to tell caregivers, especially, and patients, that all this stuff about like be strong and make rainbows out of all this, and it's blessing, all of that. Like, we don't have to say that, friends. That's my mission. So I hope you heard that, because it's hard. And so I'm sort of out there to say, like, this is hard. It's hard day to day. I feel like I'm a watchdog. Like, I'm a watchdog for him. I can see from a mile away, like, if he needs to go take a nap, and I'm the one to say, whatever's happening right now, you need to go lie down. I'm the watchdog for like the relative who's like blowing their nose and not washing their hands. Or even in doctor's appointments, when someone says, well, I read the chart, I'm the one to stop and say, you didn't really read that whole chart. That chart is too long. I know you didn't read that whole chart. And so I'm just on constant vigilance in all the ways, thinking, is there something another, I think especially with a rare disease, it always feels like we should be asking another question, we should be pursuing another avenue, we should be doing more. And so I just feel like I'm always on in that way.
So those are some of the wrong things to say to a caregiver, to a patient. What are some of the right things that people can say that are helpful or do that are helpful?
I think anybody who's having a hard time with anything, I think we should just say, that sounds hard, and I'm here for you. So I think not saying, my cousin once had a thing, or any of those things that we want to do. I think instead just acknowledging that whatever that sounds really hard, and I'm here with you for whatever that's going to look like.
So I'm guessing Maya is the center of both your lives.
Yes.
And your family.
Yes.
How has Fanconi anemia affected her life?
It's been different along the way, because she was 4 when he was diagnosed. And so in the beginning, it was very much like, Daddy's blood is sick, and so he's going to get Uncle Adam's blood. Isn't that so crazy? And sort of telling her different things at different stages. A really hard moment was when the tongue cancer was diagnosed, because even at a young age, she was maybe 7, 8, 9 at that point, she knew cancer was a big deal. And so telling her that was really scary. And then even, we got to know, our whole family got to know Amy from Maya really well, because she was being treated in Minnesota. And at one point, Amy was on one floor of the hospital and Sean was on another floor of the hospital, and our families got to be very close. And so when Maya learned that Amy had died and then our good friend Chris had died, then it sort of started to be like, wait a minute, what does this Fanconi anemia thing really mean, and what's that going to mean for Daddy? So we just sort of, as she ages, tell her a little bit more each time, and as different things come up, sort of decide what she's ready for in that moment.
What do you do for yourself, Allison? What sort of self-care things do you do to keep yourself going?
Yeah. Yeah, so I have started writing recently, and I just write about the fact that this is hard. And I started out writing mostly for myself, just as an outlet, but then have put it out there and have heard from people that it feels helpful to sort of, from doctors to hear, well, this is what it's like from the patient's perspective, and from caregivers to say, I can't believe if somebody's actually saying out loud that this is hard. Like, I didn't know we were allowed to do that. And so writing has really been an outlet for me, because I think anytime we're having a conversation with a person, you're always thinking, oh, is this too much for them? Do they really need to hear the gory details that I'm ready for, I'm used to talking about? But if I write, I can just put it out there, and if they're uncomfortable, they can click the button. So.
And perhaps the hardest thing, how do you help Maya on days that it's hard, on days that she's maybe afraid about what's happening?
It's a good question. I think that, the three of us sort of help each other. Fortunately, it seems like there's always somebody who's hopefully having a good day to support the others. So she just, I think that what the gift in this, she sees Sean as such a role model, and she sees him as so strong, and she describes him as like pure love, which is really the case. And so she has gained a lot of resilience out of this, and a lot of care for him, but I think care for the world. I think she sees suffering in people more than I think most 11-year-olds would, and then has sensitivity to that because of it.
But I'd like to thank you both, Allison and Sean, and all I can say is Maya's very blessed to have you as parents, and thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you.